Hi, folks. You are watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media, all of our channels and networks. I'm Mike Morales in Southern California. That guy out there is
Eric Zandona and the Florida Emerald Coast.
the Emerald Coast. I'm in the armpit of the San Gabriel Valley. It's not so emerald. But anyway, folks, today we're very fortunate because we have like a startup mezcal that actually has some pedigree to it. It has a history, and we'll explain all this as we go along. This one is called Salvadores, and we got two iterations. We have the Espadin, which is what this one is, and we also have a Karwinski. And you know what, Eric? I love the fact that they used agave paper.
I was going to mention that this is, they're definitely using the agave fibers in their paper. And that's always a really nice touch, whenever you can reuse some of those fibers.
Sure. And it's very tactile too. It feels really good. It feels authentic. Yeah. I'm going to go right now and say brand of promise in the mezcal category for packaging. I'm really impressed with this. And of course, all the information that you need is in the back, and we'll read that in a second. But I like this. It's simple. It's classic. It's clean lines on the whole thing. Just, So we're going to pour it, taste it, and then we'll tell you all the stats and story. Oh, nice. All the stats and story. I got a pop on that one. Wow.
Yep. Nice little pop.
I see bubbles. You know how I love bubbles, right? So that being said, I'm going to pour mine in my Stasso Jarrito for mezcal. It's got a much wider mouth. In fact, I did not check on the ABV. What are we looking at as far as
47%? So that's 94 proof.
Yeah. Okay. Well, much more than what Eric and I are used to. I throw Eric the kitchen sink. He gets stuff that if I can get stuff from Zimbabwe, I'll send it to him. You know what I mean?
I'll take it.
Yeah, I know you will. So crystal clear. I mean, very, very pristine. I got a lingering bubble there. I don't know if you can see that on my glass, but it's a yeah. I got a nice lingering bubble
hanging out.
Yep. Beautiful legs and tears. It's just, I'm liking just looking at it. It's almost shiny, and you know that there's nowhere in this process where they would put in like they would add like a glycerin or something. It's just that's just all natural.
Yeah,
it's really pretty to look at.
It is, and it's got a great aroma to it. So it has this really like bright and fruity character to it.
Yes.
So there's this like almost what I would describe as like fattiness to the aroma. Or maybe fatty is not the right word. Maybe it's slightly waxy. Because like with like tequila, right? One of the things I always talk about is when they're cooking in the oven, right? They kind of let the stuff that comes off of the pencas and the agave and the piñas to kind of like get washed away before they like crush it and do all that other stuff. Because it has all this like natural waxy kind of coating on the leaves and on the piña. And that with mezcal all goes into the fermenter. Right.
Well, if you look at pictures on Instagram, and you can find these folks, Salvadores Mezcal on Instagram, that's where we found them. And if you look at some of the mezcal Instagrams, you'll notice that a lot of them don't shave their piñas as close as tequila does.
No, they don't.
The tequileros don't. Some of them, most of them don't. They like their piñas shaved very closely.
Yeah.
Whereas in mezcal, you see they almost look spiky, even though they've hacked off the pencas. They still leave a little bit because, as you said, that's that bitterness, that the waxiness that the pencas provide, in the final product, are part of the flavor profile.
Right.
Whereas in tequila, a lot of tequileros don't like having that bitterness in there.
Mhm.
You know, I guess it's preference. You know, this is a cultural thing too. You know, tequila.
Well, part of it too is that the leaving that small portion of leaf on the piña gives you more sugar. So it's, you know, it increases your yield slightly, but it also does increase the sort of herbaceousness or grassiness that you might get out of the agave. Whereas in tequila, they shave all that off, and because they're just looking for the sugar without any of that extra, you know, herbalness that you get from the leaves.
Well, you know, God forbid that your tequila should have any herbaceousness, right? Because you know it. Again, I'm going back in the culture because mezcal is this way, all right, and it's indigenous, whereas tequila is more European, and they wanted to upscale it, and
Right.
and some of the elements that are important in mezcal were considered distracting and not what tequila, not the idea that tequila wanted to be for the average consumer, which in those days were shooting everything anyway, right?
Yeah.
So
well, you see this in all spirits across the world, right? You have the sort of quote unquote rustic spirits that are for the common people, whether that's grappa in Italy, or, you know, maybe like some, you know, unaged Armagnacs or something like that. You know, you have these like spirits that tend to be a little bit rougher. And then the more genteel spirits are the ones that have like a softer profile or cleaner in their fermentation, things like that. And yeah, the truth is both can be good, right?
Yeah.
And this is an example of, so we're getting lots of character coming from the agave.
Yeah. What a great nose on this thing. I even smell a little bit of anise in here, just on the very top.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is it's like I'm getting like, it's almost menthol, a little bit of a menthol, you know, it's a spearmint, I don't know, mint, but there's like a menthol that's really, I want to heat this up and clear my sinuses, you know, throw a towel over my head and just go. This is beautiful. I mean, this just the aroma, just the nose. Okay, shall we dive in?
Yes.
Let's go.
All right. So, this is really lovely. And one of the nice things about it, it has this really lightness, has an incredible lightness to it.
Yes.
So, even though, you know, 47%, somebody might think, oh, that's going to burn, might be really hot. It's very soft on the palate. And then it just kind of like lifts off. It leaves this nice flavor behind, but it's just incredibly light on the palate.
I got some pepper notes. You know, there's like a pepper explosion that just right at the rear of the finish.
Yeah.
And then and once you swallow, it's gone. Yeah. You know, it's just a lingering pepperiness, and then it's gone. What kind of finish? Are we getting like a short to medium? I did not get a long finish on this one. On my first pass.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I would say the finish, I would describe it as long. The flavors, though, are just not as intense, I would say, as with like other spirits. So there's definitely this like lingering sort of sensation of that menthol character that you mentioned.
Yeah.
A little bit of like pepperiness, but it has this like nice acidity to it at the same time. So it just really, it makes your mouth water a little bit. So you want
yeah. It's a so that being said, this would be a great pairing with food.
Yeah. Definitely with cheese, I would say. Anything fatty or sweet, it would definitely like cut through that. It would be have a nice balance. Yeah, but definitely like if you had some like smoked cheeses or
like a Gouda
funkier,
like that.
Yeah, some you could go funky like blue or something if
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
a thing, and I think it would pair really well.
So obviously what do they call it? Charcuterie. I'm having a hard time. Yeah, because Jason, our other TJ in Arizona, he's actually a chef as well. I mean, when I knew him, he was in the kitchen running things, and yeah, he's charcuterie, and it's just a tough word for me to say, but and having had my first a few months back toward the end of last year, I attended a tasting for a tequila actually, and it was at a place nearby here, and they ordered the owner ordered us a charcuterie. I guess it's a palate or a paddle or
board.
A board, yeah. Dried meats like salami and things in it, and there were some wonderful things on this board, like octopus. It was so good with what we were tasting. I think this would go really well with dried meats as well as what you were talking about, the cheeses.
Yeah,
this would be a great food pairing, mezcal.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree.
Wow. Okay, here's the story on this one. This is well, Eric, you gave a really good synopsis before we went on camera. He I guess you had read the material. I hadn't read it yet. Because I read it on camera a lot of times. I mean, this literally is sipping off the cup, folks.
Yeah.
What's the Reader's Digest version of this family? It's called Salvadores. It's a husband and wife team. In Salvador Palacios. Okay, well, what's the backstory? You kind of mentioned it there.
Yeah, so the story is apparently Salvador's grandfather grew up in Mexico, had a palenque in Mexico making mezcal, but
near Tlacalula. That's not a Spanish word.
And somewhere around the 1930s, left Mexico for California, like many people have done in the past.
Well, it's during the Depression, right?
Right. And so the family has been in California for a long time. And so now Salvador and his wife, Flor, have decided to kind of rekindle this tradition of mezcal making in their family. And so in 2005, they bought land down in Tlacalula, Oaxaca, and then they're working with a distiller there. I think his name is Flavio Perez Mendez.
Yes.
And he's their distiller, and they're working with him to create these mezcals. And so far, really nice stuff. So
wow.
So that's kind of a fun thing. It's you often see these, the stories of people, creating brands who had no attachment to mezcal, but traveled to Oaxaca or Durango or somewhere, fell in love with the character and the spirit and production, and created a brand. But here we have this deep family tradition sort of returning, and that's been I would say this is one of the fun things about mezcal that you don't see with other spirits, is that for a long time, without going into politics, people from Mexico have been coming to the U.S. for work and other opportunities. And so lots of people in villages who had traditions of their own family were no longer there. There was nobody to carry on the tradition because people left for work.
Yeah.
And one of the nice things that you see with mezcal is there was a lot of people returning to those same villages because mezcal has a way to create funds and to sustain families. And so that's one of the fun things that we're seeing specifically with this brand, but with mezcal in general. There's a lot of those people returning, creating mezcal in their historic hometowns, and reconnecting.
Yeah, I that's a beautiful story. I wish I'd read this sooner, but I'm glad Eric did, because they've been very upfront, and they've been they're very approachable people. They know that there's a lot riding on this too. I mean, this is literally a restart-up brand, and the thing is, the family has pedigree too. There's a history there that, like you said, Eric, you don't often see you know, you don't see that with tequila, for instance. You know,
Right.
I went to Mexico and I went to tequila and it changed my life and I want a tequila now. That's not how this is. This is,
Yeah.
you know, this is part of our heritage or their heritage, and we want to bring it back because we think we can do it right, you know. And now here's the information we got on the back of the label. Everything you need to know about it is in Spanish, but by this point, if you're a mezcal nut like we are, you know, you already can read these. Horno cónico de piedra. So that means it's underground stone oven. Okay, so it's an Indian stone. Crushed with a tahona. It's fermented in wood. Okay. Alambique de cobre. So that means it's a copper pot distilled. And this is a 2021 vintage. Okay. This is lot 657, bottle 1. No, 01. And I got bottle 9. What bottle did you get?
I have 18.
See, I got a younger bottle. And it's signed by Flavio Perez Mendez right there.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, this is a dark horse, and it's a 47 alcohol by volume. So it's 47 ABV, 100% agave. This is just Espadin. And I gotta say, I think, and you and I have had so many Espadins together, especially, you know, within the last couple of years. Like I say, I throw Eric the kitchen sink. And by and large, a lot of Espadins are, you know, you could pick it blind. You can just know what the flavor quality is or the profile. And it's like, I don't even want to go there. So it's like, how many blondes can you date before they all start to look the same, right? So I went there. But this blonde is a blonde of a different color. This is, I love this flavor profile because there's a depth in it. It's not just one element that comes at you. The flavor, the way it reacts on your palate, impressed. And I think you picked it. I think you picked it right. I think it's because of the way they're shaving their agaves to begin with, their piñas.
Yeah. But one of the things, to your point about blondes,
thank you. Now you just buried me. You just threw that dirt right on my grave. Thank you.
So you're right. It's often the case that many Espadins will have similar characteristics, just like many bourbons will have similar characteristics.
Right, exactly.
But one of the beautiful things about Mezcal is that because of the way the agaves are cooked and fermented and where they're fermented and when it's fermented and how it's distilled, all that stuff allows a lot of room for variation. And so
even, you know, the microclimate, you know, we talk a lot about terroir in tequila, but in mezcal, it really is more, it's more illustrative of mezcal, especially in Oaxaca. There's so many different microclimates and regions. Okay. And some people prefer some regions over others. And even the hand of the maker makes a big difference.
Yeah. And so while I just want to say it's like, while it might be easy to say, oh, it's another Espadin, I've had plenty, I know what they taste like. This one is a little bit different than what you've had before. It's really lovely.
Yes.
If you're looking for something fun to try, I think this is really gonna nice.
Could we put this in a cocktail? I don't know if I would, but you know,
I don't know that I would. You could, obviously, but I think it would be a little bit challenging in a cocktail, in part because of the bright acidity that it has. I wouldn't want to pair it with citrus. I wouldn't want to pair it with like a herbal or bitter liqueur like a Campari or Montenegro or something like that. So that part I think would be hard a little bit with, but it's so good on its own. But like you said, I think this is a perfect like food pairing mezcal.
Yeah.
That's like, if you want to have some people over we're talking, people are, being safe with COVID and yada, yada, but you want people over, you have this bottle of mezcal, you have yourself some charcuterie board with some dried aged meats, maybe a little pate, maybe a little aged cheese. Like this would just be delicious.
Yeah. This is definitely and that being the case, it's obviously a mezcal you want to share with friends and people, because if you're going to feed them, you're going to give them some good stuff to drink as well. This is amazing. Brand of Promise nominee for Salvadores Mezcal. If you folks are watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. Tell us down below in the comments what you think about it. And I guess they're in California, so they're in my neck of the woods. And I'm so damn impressed with this. I think as a not only a Brand of Promise nominee, but a startup brand, they got a lot of promise.
Yeah,
and they have a history. So again, folks, take all that into consideration. If you've had it, I don't have a price point. I don't know if Eric's had a chance to even look that kind of stuff up. But they were really nice to send us this information. They wrote us a nice little envelope. I'm impressed as hell. And in fact, we're going to taste their second varietal, or I can't even call it an expression. It's a variety, a second varietal. In a second, our next review will be of their Karwinski. So if you're a Karwinski nut, like I know some of you are, you want to stick around. But that's our take on Salvadores. If you've had it, tell us what you're paying for it. Tell us what you're doing with it. Write us a comment. Send us a note on either Instagram if you're watching us on Instagram, or you're watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, because that helps us on the algorithm. And whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely.